Okay, welcome to another podcast, TTPS by DWAI Videos. Was that a
Yes,
professional opening?
yes. Or I don't know what kids do these days. Hey guys, DWI here.
No, they would be like, "Yo, dead ass for real, for real." We got I don't know, dude. I can't do it.
Yeah, no. It would be like we're giving away $50,000 to the 69th, listener.
What are we, Mr. DWAI?
Yes. Yeah, I wish. I wish I had that much money to give away. Jokes aside, we're not giving away anything.
No, if we had that much money, we would just be buying like all the like old guns that we wanted from like way back in the day.
Oh yeah, which ones? That's a
Well,
great segue into the topic we're talking about.
oh yeah, that's so smooth.
Uh-huh.
Um, I mean, like, you think about all of the, I guess, Hollywood and media that we grew up with. You like watch all the action movies and stuff. I mean, like, think about like some of the guns, that we love just from like classic movies. Like, for instance, I think Die Hard is a classic example of like a good mix of all of the guns that you would like love. So like Hans uses the P7, and then the He-Man guy uses like an AUG, right? So it's like a lot of the guns that are in that movie, you like think like, oh, it's like super cool, but only because you like watch it in the movie, right? So you want to buy it because that, yeah, like the Smith and Wesson revolver. But I feel like this is kind of almost not like a lost art, but I think that the desirability of these guns is sort of going to the wayside. We did a previous podcast about what gun would you use that's not an AR and not a Glock? And that's actually a thing because nowadays it's like everyone just uses like some crazy like AR build that they have, or they have like a super tricked out Glock. Like, I feel like the classic thing to do would be to buy like a cheap AR and put like cheap accessories on it, but then people will like buy a Glock and like spend thousands of dollars like tricking it out like crazy, like compensators, red dots, lights, like slide cuts, paint, Cerakote, and stippling and like triggers and all that stuff. And it's like their handguns are like super expensive. Half the time they don't even work properly because they're not like shooting the right ammo or tuning their gun with like their comp and stuff. And then they have like these kind of like mid-tier, relatively mediocre ARs. Or even if you do, it's like, okay, it's an AR, and even if it's a decent quality one, then it's like, all right, like fine, whatever. But it's not cool in the like classic way. It's different. Like, I can respect well built ARs. I have like a bunch myself, and I think they're great guns to use. But there's nothing like, what's the term for it? There's nothing that is like
Pizzazz.
very like special about it, I guess. Or like, it's not like, it doesn't inspire, I guess, beauty, I suppose. I don't know. There's something about classic guns that you look at that they're just like, oh, they're like beautiful, and they're like, yeah, they may not be totally practical, but just something about it, I guess. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's an aesthetic part to it. Like obviously, some it's like design. There's design, and then there's aesthetic, which I think sometimes they kind of blur together. So like in the AUG, right? It's like the way like the curves, the lines, how it is gives it a very defined look. It doesn't have to be like you look at like the Tavor or the Keltec RDB, like they're similar function. They're all bullpups, but they have vastly different like lines and design, right? So there's an aesthetic component to it. Whereas like I think what you're getting out with the AR and especially modern, tactical, AR M4s, whatever, is that like there's no regard for the aesthetic because it is just practical. It's like, okay, we're gonna shove like all these rail space on, and then we're just gonna throw stuff on. And once you start throwing accessories on, then everything goes out the window. But like at its base, like you look at, I don't know, like Sabma 2, it's just like, all right, we just shove rails on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like it's just M4, and like, okay, how can we maximize the amount of rails on an M4? And there you have the Saab Mod 2. So I think
Yeah, I think like for example, if you take like an M16 with like the Vietnam style, like right there with the triangle hand guards and like all that, like the carry handle, like the A1 style carry handle, and then you compare that to basically like any modernized AR-15, and you're just like, the AR-15 doesn't inspire sexy in my opinion. Whereas like the M16 is like, I don't know, something maybe about like the texturing and just the curvature of it is just all like, it's much more aesthetic in my opinion than like most current modern AR-15s. But the modern AR-15s, like, they're cool, but they don't inspire that, like, I don't know, style.
Yeah, I think at some point it's like you still want it to look good, right? Because otherwise there are guns where it's just designed for practicality and then with no regard to aesthetic, but you could still think it's cool. So like the grease gun and probably the Finnish what's the Finnish SMG? The one that's basically just like, oh fuck, which one?
You mean like every other gun that's basically just a tube?
Yeah, just a tube, right? So it's like, and then like, yeah, it's that one's designed purely for what it needs to do.
Not the Tsunomi KP31.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. I just looked up Finnish SMGs. I wasn't sure. Like,
probably just sold me. I was thinking the one everybody.
M44.
The one fucking they used in Vietnam, the cool one. Maybe it's not Finnish. Which one is the fucking? Oh, no, I'm drawing a blank on it. God damn it! No. All right, whatever. This is SMGs. Like there are some that are cool. Like, but then you look at the MP5, right? It's like the MP5 also. I think rails. You know what? Hot take: rails ruined aesthetics. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. Because you have to have straight lines for rails to work. I think that's what it is. It's like before guns had curves to it, right? Like handguards. It's like, they're swept for a reason, or they're triangle, which you can do, the AUG too. Like you could be sleek, angular, like thin, because you don't need rail space. There's no rails, but you need like width and you need straight lines. So all modern guns look the same because they all need straight lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
like a good example of this would be pistols that have angled dust covers underneath them, where it's they're swept upward, versus like having a pick rail on the bottom where you can attach a light. And it's like, yeah, it's very useful to be able to attach accessories to it. I'm not going to argue that. I think the best example I can give would be like a PT-26, the older style being non-railed versus a one with a rail on it. It's like, yeah, it's cool to have the rail, but then it kind of ruins the aesthetic of the gun a little bit, in my opinion, especially if you don't utilize the rail for anything. Same concept for 1911s, right?
Yeah, I think there's maybe that's the difference, right? It's like guns designed with rails in mind, and then then the ones you add a rail in. So like, and I think an example I would like USP, right? Like even though it's not the HK USP, even though it doesn't have a standard Picatinny rail, it is designed for rail in mind, right? So like, so it has that distinct look, but they kind of like incorporate that into the design, so it looks good.
Whereas you said, matches the slide. And
exactly,
it's
the dust cover, right?
Change, right?
Whereas like the 226 and the 1911, it's like it was never designed to have a rail. So when you add a rail, or even M9, right? Like when you add it to it, it just doesn't look right because it's an afterthought. Whereas like so like, hot take, the SIG GSR. You know, like I think it looks great because but they also make one. But they also make ones without rail. So
Well, see, the problem is you're not giving them the real reason why you think the
we don't
GSR looks
need to
good.
talk about that. Anyways, moving on.
Okay.
Yeah. We won't talk about that.
Bayonet. Yeah, I'm
uh,
sorry. I just had something to clear my throat.
But anyways, you're probably wondering where this came from, but we're trying to kind of like downsize a little bit our collection, and we're looking to sell some of our old stuff, and then so we started doing some market research, and then what we found was like stuff that we thought when we were buying that was cool. So like take example like CZ75 Pre-B. When we were getting into guns, you know, like 10 years, whatever. Wow, it's been that long. But like when we were into guns, like that was cool. Like that was almost a holy grail, finding a good quality Pre-B CZ75. And now we're looking, and then you can find them online, but for like almost regular price, or basically like for dirt cheap. Like nobody cares about them anymore.
So I mean, it's not quite like that, but it's interesting because we went through like a bell arc. Because when we were younger and we were like, I mean, this was even before I was old enough to buy a handgun, and I was looking at them, and like, you used to be able to buy a CZ75 Pre-B for like $300, but then, you know, I'm like in high school, I like don't have like, you know, a real job that like pays well enough to like spend money on those kind of things. So basically I was like, well, I can't buy this right now, but I'll pick it up later when I get a real job and have more money. And then, you know, basically as soon as I'm old enough to start buying these kind of things and I have a job that I can spend money on stuff, all this stuff like starts to dry up, or basically like the prevalence of the internet made people like known to like cool things. So then like now everyone's like buying it all up, the prices are being driven up, and then, you know, we just didn't spend the money on that, or had to do adulting and this and that. And then now it's like, oh, well, everything has gone up to where it's like more money than you think it's worth, so you're not willing to spend the money on. And then now it's going back down, right? So the next generation of kids has like come up, they're interested in buying guns, but all they grow up with is watching like T-Rex arms and like playing like Call of Duty, and you know, they're all of their experience and exposure that we had with like old Hollywood classic action movies and things like that. It's like their experience is totally different, where what they think is cool and desirable is just like all the new tactical like rails and accessories and, you know, all that stuff. And that's like, obviously I like that stuff too, but it's like they don't look at, you know, older guns like, you know, the 226 and, you know, like 1911s and like, you know, like all that stuff in the same way that we do. So because everyone in our generation has kind of acquired all the things that they want, then it's like, okay, now people who are trying to sell stuff, it's like not really going anywhere. So now we're going back down to the other side of the bell curve.
It's and yeah, I think that's really it, right? It's the media that, you know, the current gun owners grew up with. It's the Call of Duties and, you know, whatever's on Hollywood TV, like I don't know, fucking Mission Impossible, like Tom Cruise. It's like it's all like the current stuff. It's all 416s, ARs, tactical stuff, right? Like no one is really like, oh man, it's like he's rocking a, you know, SIG P210. That's a bad example because the Legend exists, and pretty sure James Bond used one at one point.
Probably.
I think he did. Like, I think I'm pretty sure. No, it was in Quantum of Solace.
He uses a Legend?
It might be a Legend. It might be an original or a Legend, but I know in Quantum of Solace, there was he had a P210. Let's see, Quantum of Solace. Yeah, P210. So it's the 50-year special edition. So I guess not a Legend, but still a modern production. P210. Still cool though.
Dude,
But
I need this West German 228 to go with my West German 226. It's good
But
price
yeah, like
too, but like
it's funny because like I've observed it, and I'm sure like all you listening out there, you probably have experienced it, whether you know or not. So like a good example was like when we were, when Jeremy was talking about we weren't into real guns yet, we were in airsoft, right? So like you obviously still want accessories for airsoft. So back in the day, you could buy like aim points, like those cheap aim points, like the pre-comp. I'm talking about like like aim point like 5,000, aim point 2,000, aim point 1,000. The original aim points. I'll pull the picture. Aim point like I'll pull up 5,000. Actually, maybe 2,000. Whatever. Like they're just kind of like funky looking like aim points, old school. Retro, especially the 1,000 actually, and you were able to pick them up for like less than $100. They were like $75, like like because people wanted the new stuff, like the comp M2. I think that was like with the new stuff when it was the comp M3, comp M2. So nobody wanted the 1,000 or even the 5,000, and then the Call of Duty Black Ops 1 came out, and then that was the aim point or the optic they used, and suddenly these things got bought up. Like you couldn't find them. Same thing with like Russian Cobra sights, the Cobra Red Dot. It's like you used to be able to buy them cheap. Like you can buy the real ones for airsoft, and then as Call of Duty, other games made them more popular, they dried up instantly. Like it's almost stark. Like because like I was like, oh, Black Ops 1 had one, so maybe I won one, and then I look up and they were gone. So
Yeah, I think that's, I guess just, I mean, the other part of it that you have to think about is that, a lot of the kids who grew up playing video games and seeing all this stuff, then they got tech jobs that like pay a lot of money, and then now they can spend all the money they want on like vintage or retro stuff, and so it drives the market up because they're willing to pay for it just because they have expendable money to spend, and then they will just collect everything that they want to collect, and so it just makes it so it's like some of this stuff goes to the wayside, I suppose, in terms of just not being available.
Yeah, it's kind of just something interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned kind of a bell curve. So now is the time to buy. Now is the time to buy all the cool stuff that you weren't able to, like
actually
HKP7s. Yeah. Let's go!
Oh my god,
they're still like $5,000.
Dude, the P7 thing. Actually, I should talk about this. This is kind of interesting, but I won't give specifics, obviously, to protect anonymity, but there is a guy who is a huge HK collector. Like, basically, all of the classics, pre-bans, and P7s and stuff, right? And so, he has a lot of money. So, he hired a bunch of people to just surf Gunbroker and, like, Arms List and basically any places you can buy firearms online. And he was like, I don't care how much it is. If you find a P7 or like a lot of the like nicer HKs and stuff, just buy them. But let's just stick to the P7 example. He was like, just if you see any P7s, just buy them. And so this was a while ago, like this was a few years ago, and basically I think in like watching the trends of what was available online and stuff and how pricing was, I'm pretty sure he single-handedly changed the market for P7s, because back in the day you used to be able to buy P7 like surplus pistols in like B conditions, so like maybe a little beat up, maybe a little holster wear from like police surplus guns in Germany and like other countries, and like you used to be able to buy them for like, I'd say on the low end $550 to like $7 or $8 for like the surplus type stuff. And then if you found like a nice one, like A grade model, you could probably get it for like 8, 9, like 7 to 1,000 ish. Like I remember when I bought my P7 PSP, I paid I think around $1,000 for it, but it was like pristine, no import marks, and like, I mean, this thing was brand spanking new, like unfired. Came with like the original box, 2 mags. So I mean, at the time it was kind of high, but I was also like super picky, and I really wanted a gun that was like as close to new as possible. So I ended up selling mine for twice what I paid, like maybe, I don't know, at this point it would have been like 5 or 6 years ago. But the point is that like the market went ballistic because this dude bought so many P7s that like the P7 market actually started to dry up just from this one guy. So then like now people were like, oh well, because he basically told his guys who like surf, trying to find guns all over the place, like basically just buy it no matter what the price. Then like all of the P7s that are listed at a higher, like, oh, if this sells then great, but I don't really want to sell it, and it's just a crazy price that I'm listing it for, those would sell at those higher prices. And then people are like looking at like what's selling, and they're like, oh well, my P7 that I've just kept in the safe because I barely use it anymore since I switched to shooting Glocks and stuff, it's like, oh, I can get like $2,000-$3,000 for this thing? Hell yeah. So then they'll sell it for that price, and then it gets bought up, right? So it's just like so bizarre to me that like one guy would just go in and like be able to like change the market for like P7s. It's like you're never gonna see, obviously this isn't public information, so it's like there's no like articles about this or anything, but it's just observing from like my personal experiences and knowing some of these people and like seeing it on the back end. It's like, holy crap, that's so wild.
Yes, you heard it here. So you gotta find something, you gotta buy it all up and be the kingpin of whatever that is. So
honestly, that actually is, I mean, if you have the money, that is the way to do it.
Yes, you gotta buy up all the FAMASs in the US.
But think about like if like let's say 14 years ago you had just bought every FAMAS you could find at like whatever stupid price. Like right now FAMASs are like, how much was the FAMASs you were looking at before?
150,000 buy it now.
So basically like
you could buy a house for a FAMAS.
I remember at the shop that I was working at, it wasn't long after I started. I want to say it was maybe like a few months into like starting, and my boss had picked up a FAMAS, and I was like, oh wow, I'd never seen a FAMAS in person before, right? And so I thought it was super cool. We were like playing with it, and it was like full kit. Like it had sling, the bipod thing on it. It had like 10 mags and like just a bunch of like the classic stuff that it would, like accessories for it and stuff. And this gun was pristine, and he paid $8,000 for it at the time. And I was like, oh man, are you gonna keep it or are we gonna sell it? And he was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna list it and sell it just because it's like I can't keep everything, right? And later we sell it, and then a couple years like down the road, we're talking about pre-banned guns and stuff, and he was like, man, I never should have sold that gun because now like FAMASs are like stupid money, and like just 5 years ago FAMASs were like 15 to 20 grand. Now you look at it, it's like, oh, so the only one that's available on Gunbroker is $125,000 if you get it at the starting bid. So it's just like just that. I mean, some guns are just like the WA-2000. It's another good example.
Like, I mean, that one is actually like a Phantom though, so it's like yeah, man, it's tough being a collector. I mean, really, the only answer I think is to just go back to airsoft, because you can buy a Tokimori FAMAS for like $200.
No, the only answer is for us to go back in time.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
We gotta hack time.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna use the time machine for, is to go back and buy guns. Yes,
Well, actually, probably to buy stocks in like Google and Apple and stuff, but basically the same thing, right?
Yeah,
the same outcome.
Yeah. So you just invest. Yeah. I mean, hey, you have 10 of these, you'd be good.
Okay, I give you $10,000 cash and send you back to 1985. What are you putting the money in?
Oh man, I don't know. The crates of Mosin Nagant.
Actually, though, Mosin Nagant is like one of the most, well, actually not really, but it is kind of one of the most ridiculous. Like, oh my god. I mean, like, I remember back in the day, you were like, "Hey, we got to go to like the local sports store." And I think it
Fucking
was
Big
Big
Five.
Five,
It was
right?
Big Five.
And like we were like, "Okay," you're telling me like, "Okay, you got to buy one of these moist nuggets." And I'm like, "What the hell is a
The
moist
moist
nugget?" So we're
nuggets.
like looking at these guns, right? And I'm like, "Why the hell would I want this thing?" And then, we're like looking at the price. It's like $59.99 plus tax.
Yeah,
So it's
it was like $80 out the door. It was like something
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was like, yeah, I bought
Yeah,
a box of ammo.
dude. I
Like,
remember it was $60 basically, and then
yeah.
you were like, dude, you gotta buy this thing, and I'm like, why? And then I never ended up buying one of these, and then later, after which panic was it that Sandy Hook or which
I think it was a mix
I
of all of
can't.
them, but I think the real was when Obama stopped importation or like
Oh
really
yeah, yeah,
restricted
yeah.
importation. So I think that
And
was
then
the
all
big
of a
one.
sudden, everyone's like, "Oh, you want my moist nugget? I
For
know what
like
I got.
$500. Yeah.
650."
I know what I
It's like,
got. Yeah.
what the hell? Is that?
Look, it's crazy. Like there's one for $350 with 17 bids on it. Like there are people actually bidding for it. I like yeah. Like they- these used to be like dollars. Like I'm sure like 85 it was probably like $10 like at your local sports store. Like maybe like
Yeah.
$10 for a crate of them. I remember you used to buy a crate of them. Like I still remember the ad from like Classic Firearms .com I think or whatever, but like it was literally like $200. You get the crate that it comes in, like the original
How many?
military
How
crate.
many in a crate again?
It was like 10 or something. It was like 10 in a crate. Like it was like stupid.
Jeez.
Like no, it probably wasn't like $200, but it was like a stupid price. Like it came down to like each of them were only like $30-$40. Like and then you got the crate with it. You had to pay the shipping, but still, like people were making coffee table out of like the crate. Like I remember seeing one, or actually, you know what? Let me see if I can find it. I'm actually really curious. But like I remember coffee table. Oh wait, yeah, there it is. Like just search Mosin Nagant coffee table. Yeah, people would buy these to make coffee tables.
It's actually so cool.
It
Like
is,
that,
right?
like inner lit one
Yeah,
too.
especially
It's
the lid
so
one.
good.
So, but that's my point is that these were literally like just like dirt cheap, like full crate. Oh yeah, 10 of them. I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
They're making my nuggets moist.
So yeah, like yeah, I remember. Yeah, the first SKS was the same thing. It was like $100 when we were buying them, and then like when the panic hit, people were selling SKSs for like $600, and then I don't think they ever recovered. I don't know what price SKS are, but again, they're not also. But it's a bell curve, right? It's like now nobody gives a shit about SKSs. So, oh my god, never mind. I take it back.
Oh, what the? Well, those guys do. I mean, there's not that many of them on there.
No wrinkle, $600. Like, I mean, I went to a gun show recently, and then they were like $600. So they're not quite there yet. But also, they have a hard time selling just because nobody cares about them. Like not when you can get a 39 AR. You can get a 7.62 by 39 AR, right? Or
Why
like,
didn't I buy that Norinco RPK?
yeah, you done fucked up on that one. That one you done fucked
Dude,
up on.
you know what really threw me for a loop? It was because that new law had changed for Washington State where you had to do all the extra BS and like it was almost sort of like almost like a registry thing for semi-auto rifles. So like that was one of the factors of like, I didn't want to like buy a rifle and like basically be on the record or whatever, stupid. But basically it's like, I really should have bought that RPK, and it was a Norinco one too, so it's like, fuck, it's so cool. That was messed
Yeah.
up.
I mean, Fed post all you want, but like I'm at the stage where it's like I don't care. Just if you're letting me buy X, Y, or Z, I don't care. I'll sign up for whatever registry. Like I'll worry about it. I guess like I don't know. Like yeah, Fed post all you want, but I just don't care anymore. Like it's so fucking stupid. And if push comes to shove and they actually come knocking, I'll just say I lost it in a boating accident. But
Do
sir,
you
you,
think
you,
that?
you live in a landlocked area and you don't have a boat. Be like, you don't know me.
Do you think that there's gonna be another Killdozer in our generation,
Oh
or
God, I don't
in the
know.
next generation?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, there's gonna be crazy people, so I wouldn't put my money on no, but I also wouldn't bet very high.
We're too submissive now. Everyone's just given up.
Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, what we're
yeah.
here to say is that revolver never jams. 1911 7 rounds is all you need. Two world wars. Yeah,
That-
kids these days, they just use plastic fantastic. They don't know what it's like to use real steel like real men.
yeah, wood and metal. That's all you need. None of this
Yeah,
fucking
that's all
Barbie
you
guns.
need.
You know? Yeah, bring
3D
back the M14.
printed.
Yeah, bring back the M14. None of these plastic M16 fucking Barbie guns. Am I right?
Yeah, forget about those. Those are for pussies.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
recoil and I like dislocated shoulders. Yeah. I only shoot 357 SIG because I like nerve damage.
Oh my god. I love it. I don't know. I definitely miss those days.
I
Because,
do too. Like it was the Wild West. Because I think we were also fortunate enough. So like this will date ourselves a little, but like right when we finished high school was like a couple years after the AWB had sunsetted. So like it was the
Yeah.
Wild fucking West. Like all these guns that weren't like before were pre-banned that that was expensive. All took a nosedive, right? Like I got my A1 AUG for like basically the price, not much more than what you will pay for an AUG nowadays, right? But like I guarantee if you go like pre-ban AUG, it will probably be like stupid. I did not pay $6,500 for my pre-ban AUG, so we kind of got lucky in that sense, but also unlucky because we didn't have any money because we were in high school or just finished high school. So it's
well,
like,
and we couldn't have even bought like for instance, handguns still had to wait until 21.
yeah, true.
And like and yeah, just not having like a lot of income was like a big hindrance on like buying cool stuff that we wanted, even though like it was a good deal. Like, do you remember when we were at one of the local gun shops and I was like, dang, they have like 5.7 pistols, and I think it was like on the shelf it was $850 or something like that, and then like that wasn't even the cheapest price. Like if I had like shopped around, I probably could have found it for like maybe $750, and like I really wanted a 5.7, and then like we were just like, oh yeah, but it's like that's a lot of money to like spend on a pistol, and then I ended up not buying it, and then like FN was like, haha, we raised the price, haha, and then like basically the 5.7s went up to like 11 or $1,200, and I was just like, damn, like if only I had just bought it back in that time, right? PS90 is also a good example of
Dude,
this too.
PS90s were under 1,000 at one point. They were like 900, like 850. And then
Yeah.
and now they're like, holy shit, I'm looking at them. They're like $2,000, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, FN also keeps like raising the price every
That's-
time they lose a section of the world where they can sell guns. So it's like they just try to make up the funds by just raising the price of all their guns. Like, no, literally, that's what happens every
Yeah?
time
Oh, yeah.
every time the price goes up on their MSRP on like their guns, right? It's because like a section of the world was like, yeah, you can't bring these into the like our country or something like that. So you can actually look at the timeline of it and see like when this happens, but basically like FN is just like, okay, fine, we can't sell guns there, all right, raise the margins, or raise the price on like the Scar
Everybody else,
17 and the
yeah.
Scar 16. Like, I mean, like
Oh
you look
my
at like
God.
what scars used to cost, right? They're like 25 or 2600, and now like for Scar 17s they want like 38.99 or something crazy like that. It's like, are you serious? It's almost double the price.
Yeah. So what you're saying is if you have a time machine, you go back and buy FN guns.
Yes. Look at that. $4,000. Are you kidding me right now? It's like, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, not even a Scar 20. It's a Scar 17. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, I think it's just the
Yeah, and I think maybe that's part of the problem, right? It's like maybe there are people that still want the cool stuff, that still want something different from AR and Glocks, but it's just the barrier for entry for like I guess the practicality and the usability that's the same as an AR and Glock. It's just so much higher, right? Because it's like a video we did, or it's a non-AR, non-Glock. It's like, what really do you have as an alternative? Like, I mean, I'm gonna say the RDB, but like other than that, you really don't have another alternative in that same price range. Like, tell me, under $1,000, like, what are you gonna pick that is like on par or a decent alternative to an AR? Yeah, there's really nothing, right? Like, as far as the center fire,
an SU-16 for $650.
Oh God!
You remember when that was a consideration because it was so cheap?
I had one. And then it was fun. It was a fun gun. Like it just, yeah. But that was also
make those?
I think so. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't, but people don't. Maybe it's like Caltech's like history. They want to forget about it. No, they're still. Oh, these are 22 though. But 5.56 one, yeah, like $800, $900. Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. See, okay, so basically, if we go back about 5 to 10 years or so, like the alternative to an AR would have been an AK, because you used to be able to buy AKs all day for like $300.
Yeah.
For like a Wasser 10 or like
a Century, Century AK. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of decent options for like stupid cheap money.
Well, but that was also because you didn't have all these cheap AR builders or AR manufacturers out, right? Like PSA wasn't a thing, Arrow wasn't a thing. Like this was right when AWB ended. So the only people that were making ARs were big companies or have been, like Armalite, Colt, and I think like Bushmaster, and Smith & Wesson was even a latecomer in that, right? So like you really didn't, and they all of them started at like the $700-800 mark, right?
Wait, so I got it. Ruger Mini 14.
That's fair. You know what? But even nowadays, it's like, I guess.
But what they used to be cheaper though, right?
They used to be like I think $400 or $500. So, but now it's it's not worth it. Yeah. Like yeah. So that's. So yeah, you really have no right, but for $1,000, it's like, okay, let's say you do end up buying a Mini 14 for $900, but that's what I'm saying. You're at a disadvantage to somebody that just goes out and buy a PSA, the cheapest bottom of the barrel AR, right? Like,
yeah, it's like a hilariously bad choice comparatively speaking.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So there's literally no comparison. Like you're forced, if you have no money, if you can't pay to play, like buying a Bren, a Scar, a whatever Gen 3 ACRs out there.
Wait, High Point Carbine.
Yeah, they don't, but it's not 5.56 though.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm talking about center fire. I'm talking about center fire rifles, right? So
it's like, rifle cartridge.
Yeah, rifle cartridge. So it's like you really have no choice. Like you said, back in the day was buying a Century or a Wasser. And having cheap ammo, and then you can train and you can actually shoot. But yeah, nowadays you have nothing. Like it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So
obviously FS 2000.
Okay, you fire up that time machine. Let's go pick up some more FS 2000.
Back when they used to cost like $1,400.
Yeah, and then I think I caught them right as they were going away. So it's like, I think I paid like 16 or 17 for mine. So, but nowadays it's like, good luck. Yeah. If you're a, Splinter Cell fan, you want to buy one. It's like, well, that's, there we go.
What the hell?
$6,500 and then $5,000. $4,000.
I am so glad that I bought that one that, remember when we were talking about it and you were just like, dude, if you don't buy one now, it's just going to get more and more expensive. And so I paid $2,000 for mine. And even that was like a high price comparatively to like what they were before.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah. The fact that there's post sample LE letter required machine gun that costs less than an FS 2000. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean everything, right? G36, the Tommy build, the Tommy T36, same shit. Like it's you can't, yeah, everything. You have no choice. So like, I want to say kids these days and shit on them, but like they're kind of also victims in this, and that they really don't have better choices than ARs and Glocks. So maybe we're more fortunate to have been able to afford and play with these.
Yeah.
So, but then again, then you have people that buy an AR and then throw like $5,000 worth of accessories. So it's like, you could have afforded a different gun.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, in hindsight, but it's like,
Yeah,
if you
to
count
start.
all the accessories and stuff, then it kind of isn't exactly the same comparison. As if you spent $5,000 building out an AR that's like fully tricked out with like laser optics, lights, slings, and like all the accessories, but then you also spent $5,000, or you spent $5,000 on like SIG 551, but it's like bare bones. It's not exactly the same comparison, even though it's like, yeah, that is obviously the cooler choice, but it's like not the same.
Yeah, usability.
You can't compare them.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
It's because your base is just so different.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I kind of want this. I'm looking at a pump action AK.
Wow.
Yo, pump action 5.56 AK. Kind of cool.
Jeez.
But anyways, yeah.
Look what I found. Look what I found.
It to me. I don't have it set up to look at you.
Okay. Hold on. Well, it's a 5.7 IOM.
Okay.
Starting bids 2,000, but it's clean. Like it looks new, basically. That's one of those things that I should have tried to go for back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it probably would have been the same price anyway.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we have a lot of and we've had a lot of regrets and sad stories of stuff we should have, could have, but didn't. So I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about it another time. Huh?
Wait, actually, before that should be our wrap up thing. Is what is your greatest single regret of either not purchasing or not keeping?
Ooh.
So if there was a gun that you're like, I should have picked it up when I had the chance, and there was maybe a specific example, or there's one that you had and you let it go and you wish you still had it.
I'm sure there's one that's even worse that I've blocked it out of my mind that I didn't buy, because I distinctly remember the feeling of bidding and then on something, or wanting to buy something, and then I either didn't have the cash at the time or I just forgot about it and letting it go, and I just blocked it, suppressed it in the deepest recess of my memory. But a quick one off the top of my head is I regret selling my ACR, kind of. It's not as bad, but I do kind of regret. I had a Bushmaster ACR. And then nowadays it's
I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah, let's see how much an ACR costs nowadays. It's if you can even, so 4K. Well, actually, that's a Brent. Where's an ACR? No, Crew Arms. So yeah, Bushmaster ACR 3000. So yeah, that's kind of it's kind of similar story to his P7, where it's I bought it for a decent price and then I sold it for also a decent price. And I just I don't feel as bad about that one because it did have some issues, I think. So it's for me to have kept it, I only regret because now it's I don't have it because it's cool, but I don't think I would ever use it anyway, so I don't feel as bad. But I know there's definitely a better story of something I didn't buy that I really should have, looking at it. So actually no, there is. I regret not buying an HK-41 when I saw one at a gun store. It was the gun store.
Cool.
It was the gun store Jeremy was working at. Like they had an old HKG3. So for those of you that don't know, the before the HK91, which is what people commonly know as a civilian G3, there was the HK41, and even before that, like there was HK41 early generation, and the early generation still had the powder release and the 3-pin, and so basically it was identical, and they were grandfathered in to be legal. So they're technically machine guns, but they're not. Like, as long as you use them as they're intended, they're not machine guns. But identically, like functionally and like design wise, they were identical to a full auto military G3. And I should have bought that. Another one was I should have picked up a SIG. That one was probably a little out of my price range, though. I would have probably taken out a loan to get the SIG 550 sniper.
Oh yeah.
So that one I don't feel as bad, because that one I literally have to take out a mortgage just to pay for that one.
Dude, I mean, you were almost ready to like sell your car for it.
Not that, but I was ready to sell everything in my collection.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, those are kind of mine. Like, you got any good ones? I know you do.
Oh man, I have like way too many to like. I mean, I'll rapid fire through them real quick. Like I used to have a West German 228. I regret getting rid of that. I used to have a Mark 1 high power. Regret getting rid of that. I used to have these two really hurt me a lot, but I had an Interarms PPK blued, and I also had a Gen 1 Walther P99. So both my Bond guns, I definitely wish that I had kept, I had held on to. I don't know. One day I'm going to buy that SD from you. And then
Yeah.
Regrets?
You want it?
Actually, yes, but we'll talk about that later. I regret not buying. We had a Remington MCS breacher shotgun. And it was kind of expensive, but now looking back on it, I'm like, I should have done it anyway. And it was sold as an AOW, so it was already in the 10-inch breacher configuration with just like a Packmeyer pistol grip on the back end. And now I want one so bad, and they're really hard to find. And so basically, like, that's one that I kind of wish I'd gotten. We already talked about the RPK Norinco, so that was another one I should have bought. I should have bought one of the Arsenal 104 URs. So the basically the Krink with the triangle folder already on it, short barrel configuration with like basically like rosewood grips on there. So it's like the classic, basically all of my guns I just love, like James Bond guns, just like having a Krink would have been so cool. What else? I mean, honestly, like there was
that AR at Cabela's, I remember.
I actually don't really regret that one as much, because I honestly don't think that I would have like kept it, or at least it would have gotten like all parted out and stuff. Honestly, that was more of like a buy of an opportunity, because it's like, true. Basically, everything was so crazy expensive afterward that it would have just been nice to have an AR at the time. But now that I have a bunch of ARs that I really like, then it's like, I don't really regret that much, because it's not like I would have liked that AR more than like the ones that I have now.
Yeah, but your first AR. Oh, actually, I regret getting rid of I had a couple Mini 14s. I should have kept one.
You should have kept the A-Team one, I think.
No, the A-Team one I didn't want. I should have kept the normal one. Like I'm glad whoever I sold the A-Team one, he liked it a lot. So
that's glad, true. Yeah.
So and I think it was a good deal for both of our sides. But like, I should have kept like a normal, regular, like rifle stock one, because I think I would, because now I'm looking for a rifle stock 5.56, like even a bolt gun, and I'm just like, holy shit, I have no choices. So I should have just kept it. And I have the unobtainium straight wall 20 round mags for the Mini 14, and no Mini 14 to go to them. Like, oof. Yeah, I have two of them, new in box. They're still in its box, like straight. Yeah, like I don't know, like maybe maybe they're not as rare as I think, but like, yeah, if people know where else you could buy like straight mini 1420 round mag, let me know. Because, yeah, and how much they're worth. And if they're interested, hit me up because I'm not using them.
556 M14.
You know, dude. Yeah.
556 M14 EBR.
That's okay. That's actually why I bought it. That's exactly why I bought it. Holy shit! Because I wanted to build the Mini 14 EBR. Oh, that thing's so cool. The only problem is the mags all look funky. But if you had straight mags in it, it would look so good. God, and yeah, there you have it. That's why I regret selling my Mini 14.
There was a HK91 that
Ooh, that's
I think
right.
it was. You remember that one? And I was thinking about picking that up. So that's another one I kind of wish that I had jumped on.
Do you regret getting rid of your MP5K? Or
No, because up to a certain point, it's like I wish that I had bought into like actual HK MP5s, but that one I don't really regret because it didn't have a tri-lug on it. But you know what? I do. Shoot, what was it? I do really regret is we had so. At the shop that I worked at, we had gotten a bunch of MP5 parts kits from like a police trade-in, and we sent off those parts kits to, I think it was like TMPS or TPMS or one of these like fabrication companies, and they basically made them into MP5 SDs. And they were like 4,000 or something like that for the full setup, including like the can and like everything built up. And I was like, I should have just like tried to figure out a way to make that work, because like having like an MP5 SD would have just been.
Oh, I know what I regret. I regret, I guess. I regret buying the XMA, and then I kind of regret selling it, but I more importantly regret not buying a G36 instead. Like,
Yeah,
I think
I
that
remember
was
that.
like, I think that was the bigger issue. Like, I regret, which the XMA I don't feel as bad because I got an ISMV out of it, so I think that was actually okay. But I regret not buying a G, like, especially with the money I got from XMA, I regret not buying a G36. I really should have.
Hey, 416 parts kits.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, that's another one. I should, especially or trade-ins when they were coming in. I should.
Back
You're
before
right.
they became like stupid expensive. Because it's like I would love to just have like a 10.4 like quad rail, like old school 416 upper, and I'll just slap it on like whatever and like SBR it.
I had a chance to even buy one of the Titan ones. Remember the Titan Copies?
Yeah.
That before they got fucking sued, but they were identical. Like you can even use HK parts on it. Like I had a chance to buy one for pretty cheap, and I didn't because it was like, oh, I'll just save up and buy a real HK, because at the time it wasn't that much more to buy a real HK 416. Like it was a lot, but not much more. And then now you can't even get any of them, so like kind of regret. Now I try not to think about that, but I justify, be like, yeah, HK 416 is not even that good, it's heavy, and it's like nobody likes fog rails, but they're still cool.
Just keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, it's like same thing with like G36 is not cool. It's like, oh, it melts. It's not even that accurate. The plastic genuine, but it's like I still kind of want one.
Me too.
Yeah, but
all right. Well, I mean, it's like we got to keep looking forward, man. There's always new stuff. So
but if anyone out there has a G36 and maybe wants to trade it for an FNC, let me know.
Whoa! Trading your FNC for it? Damn.
No, it's not worth it. The FNC is worth way too much.
Yeah. Well, they'd be like G36 plus cash on top, right?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Or it has to be an actual G36, or like not like, I mean, like SLA build is fine, but it has to be like an SLA with G36 parts built on it. So
and the markings.
With the roll. Basically, you keep the marks from the G36 parts kit. Yeah, basically. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, any last minute closing?
No, I mean, I think more or less, I think we have established that the new generation sucks. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's like, I think that the new generation of folk can definitely, I guess, like, oh, what is it? I think maybe acquire the taste for, like pre-ban and like the old style stuff. And I think that it's kind of like lost now, it's just lost on the new generation of kids who are getting into shooting and stuff. And I think that, up to a certain point it can be tough because like this stuff is hard to get and it's much more expensive. And like, I do have to wonder like how much does like inflation impact like the cost of like guns and stuff too, because there's a certain percentage of that it's like the money would have been different, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
everything's more expensive, and I think
yeah,
we keep harping back on it, but I think I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just like AR and Glock. It's just the best bang for their buck, and not
yeah,
because they don't have better like taste, for lack of a better word. Like even if they want, it's like it just doesn't make sense not to buy an AR
yeah,
or a Glock at the end of the day. So.
yeah. All right, fine. We'll give you a pass.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Right? It's like maybe leave a comment. What are your greatest kind of regrets in either purchasing or getting rid of or not buying, or just any woes in general? And what do you think of the current generation of gun owners? Even though
Yeah,
we're not even that much older.
tell me a story in the comments about what's your favorite like pre-ban gun, or like what's like a great find that you got, or like something you regret not picking up. I want to hear it. And then also we're interested in hearing like what you guys want us to talk about. So if you get a chance, throw it in the comments. About like what kind of stuff do you like? What topics do you want us to talk about in these podcasts? So we're open to ideas.
Are we the FUDs now? Oh God!
Ah, no! Ah, 3 world wars. Wait, hold on.
I mean, do we send 1911 to Ukraine? Can we? Does that count? Like, oh,
The question is, what even is a 1911?
yeah, it's all about 2011s nowadays. 20,
Yeah,
2011 that
staccatos.
take, yeah, dude, 2011s that take Glock mags. Yeah, like, wrap your head around that one. Like, I think if you show a FUD that, I think they'll break in their minds.
I mean, there is a company that does that, but it's not Glock factory mags. It's
Oh, I thought it was. I thought it was Factory Mags. I knew
actually,
somebody
I
that
think
did
there
that.
actually might be a company that does that. But I also heard of this new company that makes a 1911 that takes the S15 Shield magazines for the Glock 48 that holds 15 rounds of 9. But it's not a factory Glock mag. It just works in the Glock 48 and 43X. But basically, it's like 15 round capacity, metal magazines, pretty slim, and then goes into like a 1911 style gun. Oh yeah, if you want to learn how to shoot, this is the only video you need to watch.
Yeah, and for you audio listeners, we won't tell you what it is. So good luck.
I am the master of combat.
Yeah, that's the hint. All right. Well, we're gonna log out. That's FUDs. Gotta go to bed because it's 4 p.m. already.
Oh yeah, gotta wake up
Okay.
at the ass crack of dawn and
Yeah,
attend to my farm with my ranch rifle
With my
and
19
my
of my Ruger Mini 14.
and my no, I got a revolver on the hip because they
Oh,
never jam.
You're right.
Revolvers never jam.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Good old Smith and Wesson 38 special.
Yeah, not like these Glock Jam-O-Matics nowadays.
Yeah. Oh man, I hear you can take them through airports.
Oh yeah, the porcelain Glock Model 7,
Yeah. So,
untraceable and undetectable.
all right, get out of here.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.